Truth Unveiled here, and today I have a lot to share with you, and I just want to let you know if you have not been paying attention, the war games have begun. World War III is here. And I'm at RT now, and it says Saudi Arabia to host largest military exercises in region, 20 states invited, or 20 countries. Not one, not two, not three, but 20. And I'm going to tell you just what the agenda is. But it says soldiers from 20 countries are to gather in Saudi Arabia for massive military exercises lasting 18 days. So 18 days. The official SPA or Saudi press agency report said. I'm going to go to that report and show you just what it said. It comes as Riyadh has openly warned Syrian President Bashar Assad that he will be toppled. And excuse me if I'm butchering this, Salakia. But it goes on to say the Saudi state agency made the announcement on Sunday, adding that participating troops will begin arriving in what they say the next few hours. The oil-rich nation described the exercises as the largest and most important military drills in the region's history. So according to them, this is one of the most important drills that they're doing in the entire Middle East. Now, one has to wonder, why? Why even have drills to begin with? And why are they going after Syria? What is the big agenda? Because remember what I told you, war is a hoax. And we know that. So now we have to think and question why. But it goes on to say the so-called Northern Thunder exercise will take place in the north of the country and will include air, sea, and land forces. So we see there, it's what? Three fronts, air, sea, and land. SPA said that it will show that Riyadh and its allies stand united in confronting all challenges in preserving peace and stability in the region. Yes, preserving peace and stability, that's why they're going in and invading with 20 other nations to help them, because that's preserving peace and stability. I mean, come on. Anyway, it goes on to say that among the participants will be Arab and African countries. The US and other Western powers have not been invited. Surprise, surprise. But then it says Sunday's announcement comes as Saudi Arabia, which is a member of the US-led coalition against ISIS, deployed military jets and personnel to one of Turkey's air bases. Sorry, I'm probably going to butcher that. But it says the base is already used by the US Air Force for their planes conducting sorties in Syria. And by the way, it says they're going against ISIS, against the Islamic State. When we know better, because we know exactly who is funding ISIS and who's behind it. I'll give you a hint. But I'll keep going, and it says, while Riyadh says this necessary to intensify its operations against the so-called Islamic State in Syria, the move has sparked concern that the Saudis are getting ready for a full-scale ground invasion of war-torn Syria, where they are backing anti-government rebels battling Syrian President Assad. In a recent interview with American media, the Saudi foreign minister flatly stated that Assad will be toppled if he does not leave during a political transition. Now, one has to wonder again, why do they want Assad out so badly? What is the agenda here? It says Bashar al-Assad will leave, have no doubt about it. He will either leave by a political process or he will be removed by force. Adel al-Jubair told CNN, sorry if I'm butchering that. At the same time, Saudi Arabia is leading a coalition that has been bombing Houthi rebels in Yemen since March. Riyadh went to war in Yemen to restore ousted President Abd Rabbu Mansour Hadi, who fled from the Shiite Houthi rebels after his 2-year term expired in January. Sorry if I'm butchering all this. His predecessor, Ali Abdullah Saleh, who was formerly an opponent of the rebels, is now their ally and provides assistance with them with tribal troops loyal to him. What could be the agenda at play here? I'll tell you what it is coming up. Well, now I'm here at the SPA, and this is the official report. Now, I had to translate it in English, but when you look at it, it says the following. It says Riyadh corresponding to February 14th, 2016, SPA witnessing the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia during the next few hours. The arrival of troops participating in the military exercise, largest and most important in the history of the region, rode north. In the King Khalid military city, Hafar al-Batin, in the Northern Kingdom, will be implemented exercise, which is the largest military maneuver in terms of the number of countries, with the participation of 20 Arab, Islamic, and friendly countries, in addition with the the Peninsula Shielded Forces, and then it lists the countries. So the countries that are participating are Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Jordan, Bahrain, Senegal, Sudan, Kuwait, Maldives, Morocco, Pakistan, Chad, Tunisia, and then it says the moon. I think they meant another nation, but Djibouti, Oman, Qatar, Malaysia, Egypt, Mauritania, Mauritius, in addition to the Peninsula Shield Forces. And it goes on to talk about their naval forces and defense systems. Now, one has to wonder why. Why do you need 20 countries involved with this? And in a military drill that's going to be 18 days long, but when you see just what else is involved, then some red flags are going to start going off. Now, like I said, we know war is a hoax, and we know war is funded by the same people who are funding every other scheme on Earth. They just won't admit it yet, but I'm going to keep going on because now we're at Sputnik News, and this report came out on February 14th, but it says, a decisive rebuff, Iraq sends military forces to border with Saudi Arabia. So now Iraq is getting involved. It says Saudi Arabia started large-scale military exercises close to the Iraqi border. The military training known under the name Northern Thunder involves ground and air forces from Egypt, Sudan, Jordan, and several other Arab and Islamic countries. And don't get it twisted, many of these countries are on the side of who? The U.S. and Israel, because those two nations seem to not be mentioned here when they're the ones doing most of the funding, if not all of it, not to mention the UK and some other ones as well. But it goes on to say Iraq has deployed large military forces at the border with Saudi Arabia to oversee the ongoing military training conducted by the kingdom. Member of the Parliamentary Security and Defense Committee Adnan al-Assadi told the Iraqi news agency INA the large-scale military exercises started on Tuesday with the participation of ground forces from Egypt, Sudan, Jordan, and several other Arab states. The members of the Riyadh's anti-terrorist coalition. The exercise is expected to last 18 days and involves about how many? 150,000 soldiers. Wow, that's a lot. Sounds like an agenda to me. But it goes on to say the official noted that a possible violation of Iraq's airspace will be regarded as a violation of the stated sovereignty and perpetrators will be held responsible. And then the quote here says large military forces have been sent to observe the maneuvers at the Iraqi-Saudi border in coordination with the security authorities, al-Assadi stated. It seems like the same thing keeps popping up. The name of security, and the name of security we have to protect, and the name of security we have to do this, and the name of security we have to do that. But my question still remains, why? Now I'm here at the International Business Times, or the IBT, and it says Saudi Arabia embarks on massive military drill with 2,500 warplanes and 20,000 tanks. Now the question I have is, why so many warplanes? Why so many tanks? And by the way, mind you, this doesn't even include the ships that will be a part of this drill too. And all of this is supposed to take place in 18 days with 20 other nations as well. What is really going on here? But it goes on to say over 350,000 troops from 20 countries are said to be participating in the Saudi Arabia-led military exercise. Now this source says 350,000 troops. The other one said 150,000, so that's also a red flag. But it goes on to say Saudi Arabia has commenced a massive military drill in which 20 nations are participating. The move comes amid ongoing deadly conflicts in the Middle East. Remember, solution out of the problem. How can you make a solution out of a problem? Continued war. Continue funding the war, which your lovely government and governments are doing. And if you don't think I'm talking about the US and Israel, you can think again, because that's exactly who I'm talking about. But it goes on to say more than 2,500 warplanes, 20,000 tanks, and 450 helicopters will be part of the exercise. Riyadh has billed the maneuver as the largest and most important drill ever staged in the region. Up to 350,000 troops from various Gulf nations and other allies such as Pakistan, Jordan, Chad, and Sudan will take part in the drill, the Saudi press agency said. That's the document we just looked at earlier. The exercises would involve ground, naval, and air forces personnel, termed the Northern Thunder. The drill will continue for 18 days. The aim is, what they want us to believe, is to send the message that Saudi Arabia and its allies stand united in confronting all challenges and preserving peace and stability in the region. Neither the U.S. nor any Western nation is part of the event. They're not actually part of it, but are they part in funding it? Oh, you can believe it. Not only that, but how are they preserving peace and stability with tanks, warplanes, and helicopters? Can somebody please Please answer how that makes any sense, how you're preserving peace with a military drill and exercise getting ready for war, because that's exactly what sounds like what is going on. But for the sake and purposes of this article, it goes on to say it will serve to boost fighting capabilities, exchange information, benefit from experiences and expertise, and enhance coordination between the participating countries, said Saudi Arabia's Brigadier General Ahmed al-Asiri, because that is what they want us to believe. But we know better. We know it's about oil. We know it's about money. We know what it's about. And it's time that we finally wake up and see what is just going on, and also see the opposition between Turkey and Russia as well, because like I said, you start to see there are many war games going on right now, and it's only going to escalate. It's only going to get worse from here. Now, I'm also here at the Economic Collapse blog by Michael Schneider, and it says World War III approaches, Saudi Arabia and Turkey drop hints that an invasion of Syria is imminent. And he posted this actually just a few days ago, but he says, as you read this article, Turkish forces are massing along the border with Syria, and the largest military exercises in the history of the Middle East are being held in northern Saudi Arabia. Now, we also just talked about how Iraqi forces were also joining along at the border as well. So both Iraq and Turkey and other nations are getting involved. The question is, of course, why? But it says the Saudis are publicly warning that Syrian President Bashar al-Assad will be removed by force if a political solution cannot be found, and Turkey is claiming that it may have to establish a safe zone in northern Syria for humanitarian purposes. Now, why would Turkey need to be in Syria to begin with? That is a good question. Not only that, but we know for a fact that it's just interesting how one of the other purposes said that the purpose for Saudi Arabia doing this was for peace and security. Yet they're saying for they want to oust him or remove him. Which one is it? There's a lot of hypocrisy going on here. Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and their Sunni allies have poured massive amounts of money and arms into the conflict in Syria, and now that their Sunni insurgents are on the verge of total defeat, they are trying to come up with a way to justify going in there and doing the job themselves. What are they trying to do? Go to war. Why go to war with Syria? Because of all the oil, because of all the land, and because of all the money there. Because it also so that it can be under the guise of Jewish Zionism, so that it can be run by the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers and all of them, so that it can be under the guise of the New World Order. But obviously Syria is not cooperating, and because of that, they're trying to, well, get him. They're trying to do anything they can to oust him. And for the Saudis, their focus is on trying to convince everyone that Syrian President Bashar al-Assad is an extremely dangerous dictator, just like they did with a few others like Gaddafi and some other ones, that must be removed at all costs. And then this comes from the London Independent. Syrian President Bashar al-Assad will be removed by force if the peace process fails, Saudi Arabia's foreign minister has said. Bashar al-Assad will leave, have no doubt about it, which is what the foreign minister told CNN. He will either leave by political process or he will be removed by force. Now remember, who is Saudi Arabia really working for? I'll let you think about that, because, and I'll tell you who they're really for, because if you just think that, oh, this is all just a war game, or this, and if you just think that this is not staged, because it is, you might want to think again. And then I'm on another post he did, which is World War III could start this month. 350,000 soldiers in Saudi Arabia stand ready to invade Syria. And like I said, you could come here and check this out all on your own. But he says 350,000 soldiers, 20,000 tanks, 2,450 warplanes, and 460 military helicopters are massing in northern Saudi Arabia for a military exercise that is being called Northern Thunder. And a lot of this we went over, but it's just interesting because why? Because what? We see exactly what's going on. We see what they're doing. We see the exercise. Now, they say it's going to last 18 days, but of course, we don't know exactly how long it's going to last. It could last longer, and chances are it probably will. But it goes on to say, according to the official announcement, forces are being contributed by Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Egypt, Jordan, Bahrain, Sudan, Kuwait, Morocco, Pakistan, Tunisia, Oman, Qatar, Malaysia, and several other nations. And I'll try to find a good list of the nations in a minute. But it says this exercise will reportedly last for 18 days. And during that time, the aerospace over northern Saudi Arabia will be closed to air traffic. This will be the largest military exercise in the history of the region, and it comes amid rumors that Saudi Arabia and Turkey are preparing for a massive ground invasion of Syria. Now, are they actually going to invade Syria? I don't know. It's possible. We need to be looking out for that. But the reason I'm reporting this is because you need to see what's going on and just what time it really is, because this is literally World War III knocking on the door. And if you don't see that by now, well, then hopefully this will help wake you up, because there's a lot going on, and it just seems like now the warning signs are triggering more and more and more and more, and hopefully it is really ringing some alarm bells. But like I said, I'll leave this link here too, and I'll try to find a list of those countries that are involved with this. So here's a more accurate list of the countries, and this was on Michael Schneider's first blog, the one I went over, but it says Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Bahrain, Senegal, Oman, Qatar, the UAE, Sudan, Kuwait, the Maldives, Morocco, Pakistan, Chad, Tunisia, Comoro Islands, Djibouti, Malaysia, Egypt, Mauritania, and Mauritius. Now, why would all of these nations be involved with this one seemingly little drill? What is the purpose for all of this? And why are they all pushing for this? What is the agenda here? What is the agenda for these so-called exercises, just like the so-called exercises from Jade Helm and UX and everything else? What is the agenda? What is going on? That's my question, and that's sort of the question that we're going to be tackling for today. Now, here's one more article I want to share with you. It's 350,000 Saudi Arabia soldiers maneuver preparing for Syria war, and it comes from Al-Alam. But basically, it talks about all the refugees that are coming to Syria. Now, you have to understand and think about this. Why would they all be gathering and assembling in one strategic location against Syria, all of them pointing their eyes against Syria? Why is that the case? What is the point of this? And that's something that we really need to think about and consider. And so it says thousands of soldiers from regional countries are set to participate in a military maneuver in Saudi Arabia, media reports say. Saudi media said some 350,000 forces from the Persian Gulf Arab states and a number of other countries will take part in the Saudi-led military maneuver in the area of Hefer al-Batin in northern Saudi Arabia. And this gives the same statistics. 2,540 warplanes, 20,000 tanks, and 460 helicopters will also participate in the exercise, and it's called North Thunder. I don't know if this has any meaning to it, or if it might possibly mean anything, North Thunder. If it does, please let us know in the comment box below. But it says in 18 days of maneuvers, the airspace over northern Saudi Arabia will be closed. Now, what's also a red flag for me is the fact that they're closing airspace. They are closing the air traffic, meaning no planes can even go over that area. Why is that? And by the way, if you don't think that this is going to come to America, I suggest you think again, because last I checked, Jade Helm, they're preparing how many thousands of police officers and everything else. Could these two events be related? Could they be synonymous? Could they all have something to do with each other? I don't know. But what I do know is that it's very suspicious that this is going on, especially at the timing that this is going on. And like it says, it's the largest throughout the history of the region, the largest. And why all of a sudden? Why right now? Could this have anything to do with the Jewish Zionist agenda of a new world order? Could this have anything to do with the satanic new world order? Could this have anything to do with the UN Agenda 2030? Could this have anything to do with population reduction? Could this have anything to do with establishing a new world order, government, currency, and agenda all across the world? You bet it does. And the only way they can make that possible is through war. We saw that with World War II. We saw that with World War I. By the way, do research on both of those world wars and you'll see exactly who funded it. I'm just going to leave it at that. But we see who's funding all this too. We see it right in front of us. And like I said, the question becomes why in the name of Islamic terror, in the name of Islamic State. By the way, you all need to get off this whole religion Islam thing. It's not, no, Muslims are not the problem. Islam is not the problem. It was made into a problem by the same people who are behind our government. And that's just the truth. You can read about it in the Protocols of Zion. Too bad many mainstream media sources like to say that, that's just a fake. Oh, that was made up. Oh, you all need to wake up. But my question is why? Why all the war games? Why now? Is there an agenda? Is there an agenda for the NWO? You bet there is. Please seek Yahuwah and his true son Yahusha, because time is running out. World War is here. The warning signs are here. Please wake up and see it. But this is Truth Unveiled. Shalom.